Listen. We talking about practice.
All right, we got the 12 o'clock siren coming in from the Cowboy Corner in Leonard, Texas on the southeast side of the square. This is our first ever episode. I'd like to welcome my friend James Hartley on my left.
Yep. Hey, James here. And we've got Jason Fuller.
How do you do?
Jason Fuller sitting across from me. We are doing our first episode here and have a really, really exciting guest. We've got Eugene Kegans from the Leonard Pharmacy. Everybody knows Eugene. He's been here for many, many years on the pharmacy on the square for many years, and we're excited to have him on the show. And here he is. Hey, how you doing, Eugene?
Yeah, glad to be here.
Cool.
Here longer than you boys have been born.
Yes, sir. You're just celebrating the 50th anniversary of your store, correct?
That would be correct.
Geez, so 50 years in Leonard, Texas.
That's correct.
Was it at that location?
Same location.
Oh,
Came
wow.
here in September of '69.
Jeez. So where from?
Richardson, Texas.
Okay. Yeah, I spent some time in Richardson myself.
I was working for a gentleman, Ben Steen, there with Steen's Pharmacy, and Mr. Steen was the one who bought Mr. Galden out and then gave me the opportunity to come up here and be a manager.
Gotcha. So in Richardson, that was probably the outskirts of Dallas back then, huh?
Yes, before Valley View.
Oh,
Valley
wow.
View was being built in 635. And
Wow.
we were at Coit and Beltline. Beautiful store. I was attracted as I came out of college. That's where I wanted to go to that store. I had a brother in Richardson, and it was my first opportunity to be a pharmacist.
Okay, so that was your first job right out of college?
Yes.
So Mr. Steen owned the pharmacy in Richardson.
Yes, he owned several. He owned two in Richardson. You remember, I don't know if y'all remember Preston Center over in North Dallas?
Yep,
He
sounds
had one
familiar.
there, and he had come from Ada, Oklahoma.
Okay.
It was quite successful.
So then he purchased the Leonard Pharmacy that we know now.
Yes, he originally purchased the pharmacy at Trenton.
Okay.
It was Mr. Conley, I believe, had a store there, and he purchased that and ran it as a sundry store. And then he came over to Leonard one afternoon and made an offer to Mr. Galden. Mr. Galden said, "Oh, I hated that."
And
Popped off.
Mr. Galden was running a pharmacy
yeah,
as well.
Joe Galden. Everyone here in Leonard knows Joe Galden. He had moved here from Celeste in 1952, I think.
Okay.
He'd had a store previously in Celeste.
Okay. I'm gonna move your microphone a little bit.
Okay. Side.
Yeah, that's better.
Is that better?
That sounds great. Yep.
Working out those episode one
Yep,
bugs.
that's just it's episode 1.
Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Galden owned the pharmacy here in Leonard. Before Mr. Steen purchased it, how long did he own it here? How long?
Like I
was it
say,
around?
Joe Galden came to Leonard in '52. I think he had got his pharmacy license maybe in the 30s and had operated a store in Celeste
Okay.
and then moved over here and bought out Mr. Giles.
Okay.
Well, the store-
That
that-
name sounds familiar.
Yeah, the store dates back to the teens. And if you look at the building that's just been bought next to Leanne's building,
Okay.
that's the original Joe Galden's pharmacy, and that was a Giles pharmacy.
Is that the building that was pink?
Yes.
Okay.
If you look at the top of that building now, you'll see the Coca-Cola glasses. They've left those as they're starting to restore it.
I saw that. Yeah,
Yes.
they started tearing it down. I guess at the beginning of the year, about the time we started out here
Yes.
too. That's cool. So the 50th anniversary was 2 weeks ago this Friday, I believe.
Yes, we were very pleased with the turnout.
Excellent.
The weather was a little warm, but we had an excellent turnout and a fun evening.
Good. You had I got a chance to watch some of the events on Facebook Live. Looks like you had a cover band that, playing afterwards.
Yeah, Buzz Andrews.
Okay, Buzz Andrews. A little
Yeah,
shout
came
out to
over.
him.
Yeah, Buzz
Yep.
did us a great job.
Awesome. Now I'd noticed and I heard him play a song in which he rewrote some of the lyrics to to fit Leonard Pharmacy in
Yeah,
there.
he
And
wrote our own personal song. He said he would only sing it that night. That was the last time. He gave us a copy of it.
Limited release. Huh?
Exactly.
I couldn't recall the song. I watched it and I was trying to think of what it was. Now I can't even think of what the cover song was.
I'm not real good at music,
Okay,
so I'm going to fail on that.
I'll have to go back and watch the.
Should have brought Casey or Mark or someone. They would probably know. But
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, I actually talked to Mark. I think we're going to interview him as well at some point during this.
that should be interesting.
Oh yeah, it's always interesting.
We went up there and had a Coke from the fountain, and it's
There
funny.
you
The fountain itself is one of the things I think my dad probably sold on this town when we first moved here a long time ago. It's one of the things that immediately caught his attention.
Actually, when Mr. Gallen moved in '58 to the corner we are now, that was a new fountain. So that's a '58 model.
Okay.
I wished he'd have kept the model he had down in the Giles.
Oh man.
But he bought a whole new fountain when he moved down there and sold that to an individual. The story he told me was that some guy was going to move it to Fort Worth. And they got it all loaded there on the square, and as they made it first turn, fell off the truck and all the marble.
Too bad.
So, can you give us a brief history of the soda fountain itself?
Yeah,
a lot of people probably aren't familiar with the fountain, and I wasn't as a kid, but
Yes.
introduced to it by yourself.
Yeah, we're one of the few actually that we still use the carbonated water with our Coke machine.
Okay.
And I went to Jefferson a few years ago, excited to see their Coke machines, and not one Coke machine did they have. They were actually using the carbonated water.
Wow.
We have the carbonator in the
Puff your
back.
chest out a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's all we do now is the Cokes. We don't do the fizzes and stuff that we used to do.
Okay.
And there's also an interesting story there. We don't do milkshakes, and the reason being the story Mr. Galden told me. One day his girls had all gone to lunch, and he was filling a prescription, and a guy wanted a milkshake, and he put it on the blender, and he went back and filled the prescription. And when he came back, it had come off the blender, and it was all over the fountain.
Oh no.
So people of Leonard will know Vi Duke was working for him, and he said, Vi, put that upstairs, and a few other words.
Yeah.
And we've honored that. We've never made milkshake from all
It's probably still sitting up there, huh?
Well, it's over now. Mark's got it on the side. We still have it.
Wow.
That's cool. An
No
heirloom.
milkshakes.
Very cool. You just said something about employees, and one thing I noticed on the videos of tons of employees you guys have had.
Yeah.
Generations.
I actually tried to make a list just of my employees,
Yeah.
and I've employed over 100 people
Wow.
since I've been in Leonard. And we started in the probably after a few years I'd been here. W.C. Griffith was the ag, and he had a program where he would bring down students. And I think maybe Kevin Butts was one of the first. He was in high school and worked as a student, and then I had many more after that. So
Wow. Wow. And go ahead.
Garrett Todd Todd came through there.
Garrett wasn't with the ag program, but he did come there.
He's not with any program.
He was with the program.
Really, Garrett and I spent some great years. I mean,
Yeah,
he was the guy
he was
that-
there for. He had a pretty long run, right? How long?
Yeah, after he finished college, he stayed with me, and we opened the DME department, the durable medical equipment. And
Okay.
he and I made a trip to Florida and had some interesting.
Spent some time with that guy.
Spent some time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have him on as well. He'll be a rotating guest through
yeah.
here.
Yeah, he's definitely a character.
Yeah, so.
You had multi generations of employees too, which
Yes.
is pretty unique.
Yes, I know the first one, of course, I think that was Brad Maxwell and his daughter Abby just
Right.
worked for us this summer.
Right.
And let's see, of course, Kevin, his daughter Cheryl, and his wife Kathy.
Yep.
So I know there's several others. I can't think of them right off, but
Pretty
we've
cool.
had
Yeah.
several. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, very cool. I was on the square working that Friday and watching them set up. I was in and out of the post office that day. Had a ton of chairs and a big stage set up. Tractor with a trailer. And did you guys do raffles or anything like that?
No, but just we had a little over 300 chairs, and a lot of people brought their folding chairs.
Cool.
And I know the food trucks had long lines all night.
What kind of food trucks you guys have?
Well, we had the Bacon Brothers.
Yep.
Then we had a gentleman from Longview who did brisket and fish and did something else. And then also we had tacos, a guy from Bonham.
Perfect.
And then I think we had 285 snow cones. So
Beautiful.
Wow, all my favorites.
Yeah.
So 50 years in Leonard, can you tell us a little bit about how what you've seen kind of transpire over the last 50 years and how the community is different now and maybe kind of the same?
I still think it's got the small town atmosphere, which I like. I'd been raised in a small town, and Becky had not as small as mine. She was a hesitant, but I still think we have that feel. We don't hear the term much anymore. When I first came to Leonard, we used a lot of the BILs.
Yeah.
This is probably a BIL.
Yes,
here.
sir. I'm BIL.
Yeah, y'all. Yeah, you're the sole BIL.
I'm the lone BIL of the tribe.
But we used to hear that a lot, and I know Opal Hull was an employee at the bank. She was a teller that had lots of stories about Opal. But I know she informed me when my children were born, you have BIL children, but you will never be a BIL.
Yeah,
Right.
would I be right?
But I
if
don't hear that much anymore. We've had so much move-in and turnover now. That
Sure. Would I be correct if you were a BIT?
Yes.
Okay.
What is that now?
Trent, Texas.
Yes, that's correct.
Is this,
Hey, you
is
did
this
some
right?
background now.
I did a little research on you.
Okay.
I've got a quick hit list. We'll run over here in a bit.
Okay,
So Trent High School looks like it's in between Sweetwater and Abilene.
correct. On
All
Highway
right, so you were
20.
born there. That is right.
Born in Merkel.
Okay, so
Oh,
a
yeah.
BIM.
Yeah.
Okay.
6 miles away.
Okay, close enough. I think I got that one.
Yeah.
Cool. So small town living just like this, I'm sure.
A little smaller than Leonard.
Okay, yeah.
Sure.
West Texas small
Yeah.
is different compared to here.
Population maybe 298.
Okay, so you and I also believe you graduated in 51.
No.
That's
not
when you
correct.
started? Sorry.
Yes. That's
And I'm
correct.
sorry for outing you on any dates or ages. I just kind of went straight
Actually
to it.
finished in 63.
Okay. This is high school.
High school.
Okay, right on. That is Facebook that I just did my research on.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that was first grade, I think,
Hey.
51.
Okay, cool. So you wanted to be in the pharmacy business, a pharmacist, from your childhood, or
Well, that was kind of an interesting story. I have nobody in my family that was a pharmacist.
Okay.
And as a junior in high school, we were given an assignment to write what we'd like to be when we grew up.
Mhm.
And I went to the counselor's office, and the shortest paper I found was pharmacy. So I chose that one and stuck with it.
Sure.
Turned out to be a good choice.
that's and even as just kind of a arbitrary kind of choice you made, there's a lot of schoolwork that goes with it.
Oh,
right?
yes.
So you had to commit to quite a bit as far as that goes, and obviously in high school, keep your grades up and get into a good college and all that. So what was your route there?
Yes, I spent a year at San Angelo, and then I transferred to UT. And pharmacy school at that time, you had to have 2 years of pre-professional work, and then the pharmacy school at that time was a 5-year program. So I finished in 68.
Okay.
And what was Austin like in 1968?
I'm just going to go out on a limb and say not like it is today.
No, but I loved Austin. It was a
Sure.
it was a small town at that time.
Yeah.
And it was. I got married my second year, and Becky and I had a great time. I was in a fraternity, and it was a great. I just loved Austin. I hated to leave Austin, but at the time, pharmacists were cheap in Austin.
Sure. Sure.
So there wasn't any salary.
My wife's from Round Rock, and when we first met, she tried to tell me she was from a small town, Round Rock, and I said, "That's not really a small town." You know?
You haven't been to Leonard yet.
Yeah, and much less Bailey.
Yeah.
You know,
So I know you're a UT fan. Obviously, you got the burn orange on now. You're a season ticket holder, I presume. Do you go to the games?
Yes, Becky and I are looking forward to leaving tomorrow for the opening game. So
Already.
it's already.
Well, thanks for fitting us in here
Yeah,
on a
season's-
Thursday night.
Yeah, this fit my schedule.
Who do they open with? Is it
We
UL
opened with,
Monroe or
Louisiana Tech. Yeah.
Louisiana
Monroe.
Tech? Okay.
did you go to the
Monroe.
one a couple years ago where they played where they beat Notre Dame?
Yes.
I was down there. I didn't have a ticket, and I said, "I'll go scalp one," you know, and it was $500. So I tailgated, but I didn't see the game. Yeah.
I know y'all remember. That'd be a good interview sometime. Butch Worley.
Okay.
At that
Yep.
time, he was assistant athletic director, and Butch actually helped me get tickets for the Notre Dame game. And I promised him that day. I said, "Butch, I'll have season tickets from here forward. I won't ever have to call on you again."
Very nice.
So
That's awesome.
that was like 91 or 92. I can't remember.
Oh, wow.
Wow. So that was tumultuous times in Austin and in kind of society, right?
Yes, you know, I didn't really realize as much. I worked with the president of the Students for Democratic Society,
Okay.
and a lot of marching,
Yep.
protest.
Yep.
I now look back on that, and I was so purpose-driven to get my education. I had a job and worked after school, and
Didn't have time for that
I
nonsense.
really didn't have time. I
Kind
really,
of blind. Yeah.
I mean, like I say, I would work with him every day, and he shared things they were doing, but it just never was. You know,
Sure.
and of course, then fast forward to Richardson, I ended up in the Army eventually, and so
Okay.
I was close to going to Vietnam. So.
I was not aware of that. A result of the draft, or
Yes,
okay.
I was. That's another funny story. Becky and I got to Austin. We got to Richardson, and I applied for occupational deferment, and got a letter, and we celebrated. It said I'd been deferred. And the very next day, I got a letter. It said, the reason we deferred you was to give your employer 6 months to replace you.
Oh, no.
Oh, man.
So I was quite blessed. I got in a reserve unit in Mesquite, Texas, a general hospital.
Okay.
So I ended up going to the reserves. So
And I apologize. This is during college?
no,
This
this
is
is
right
after
after,
I finished.
Right after,
This
okay.
was in '68. I went to Fort Dix, New Jersey, in the fall of '68.
I'm
Okay.
going to Fort Dix here shortly to
Are
do
you?
some reserve duty myself. Yeah,
I had a good time there, except I was there in the winter.
yeah. I'm trying to go either late fall or spring.
Yeah.
So get rid of them deer ticks.
Okay.
You know. In the reserves, were you a pharmacist in the reserves?
Well, that's another story. Went out to the hospital unit. They said they had some openings, and a friend of mine who was a pharmacist also, he went in first, came out smiling. He'd got a pharmacy slot. So as I walked in, the sergeant said, Mr. Kegans, we have no pharmacy slots. He said, I've got a chaplain's assistant.
Well.
I said, I've always wanted to be a chaplain's assistant. I'll take that.
Sure, that's great. That's a
Yeah.
great job.
Yeah.
Now, coming out, I mean, your education level at this point, was it a doctorate of pharmacy, or
No,
was
at
it?
that time, it was just a Bachelor of Science.
Okay, but you were a degreed candidate for the military. So were you enlisted or an officer?
Enlisted. When I went to Fort Dix, New Jersey in 1968, we had about 100 college graduates. We had lawyers. They weren't looking for commissioners. They were
officers,
looking for infantrymen.
Oh man,
And so it was all about the infantry.
sure,
Wow.
sure. Well, that's I guess besides not having to go to Vietnam, that was a good part. But
Yeah.
you know, after spending all that time and then having to go in and mix it up with the enlisted, that's kind of the raw deal. But you said you had a good time.
It was a
though.
real experience with
Sure.
the gentleman from New York and up north and myself. And,
Sure.
and of course, a lot of them were 18 years old, and here we were 22.
Oh yeah.
But it
How
was a
long-
good experience. I had 6 months there, or I had 3 months at Dix, and then I went to Fort Hamilton in Brooklyn, New York.
Oh wow.
That was a pretty good assignment also.
How long were you in the reserves?
I did 6 years.
Oh okay.
Yeah. Well, after I came to Leonard, I did the 2 weeks
Sure.
and did the weekend duty every month.
Yeah, that's
Is that the drill that I hear about so often?
drill. Yeah, that's what I did last weekend. So,
Usually-
matter of fact, I am standing by because of the hurricane right now. We got a call, and me and 8 of my unit mates are on standby for we've got a go bag packed. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems that the time I was in reserves, of course, we were a large hospital, and we were never called up. And it seems like the reserves are used much more now than.
Oh yeah, they call it total force now. There was even when I first came in, I went in 2003, and the Guard and Reserves were kind of not thought of on par with active duty. But now, since the global war on terror, it's a much more horizontally consistent. So yeah, they're going quite a bit. We just picked up an Africa mission. One thing I'm excited about, we picked up an Antarctica mission.
Oh.
So I'm going to go spend some time in Antarctica.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see.
I spent, after I got back to Mesquite, I eventually was transferred to the pharmacy, so I finished my terms as a pharmacist.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Well,
You brought up your wife, Miss Becky Kegans. Obviously, we can't not mention her. I
Yes.
think you noticed the nod to her at the beginning of the show.
Well, I stood out. I heard that.
Yeah.
Sure. I think she was pretty important in bringing that to the town, if I'm not mistaken, responsible for
Yeah, I
it.
think she would be.
That's the rumor. I haven't been around that long, but I'm pretty sure that she was responsible, and a lot of people around here recognize that song. So we tried to incorporate
Yes.
that into this as being part of the
We
community.
we hope to have her on someday
Yeah.
and have
She,
her.
yeah, we want to make a special.
Yeah.
we
note
want to hear
that
her
she's-
stories too.
Yeah,
she'll-
she has a lot of stories.
She'll
to
be an
tell.
interview of her own, so we can check all your
She,
stories compared to hers.
She had a real dedication for that and had I think a lot of a good effect on a lot of young women in Leonard.
Yeah, you both have. You mentioned being involved in. You were a chaplain in the military. You were also a big part of our church growing up. When we moved here in '92 or so, we met you guys, and I have fond memories of pool parties and that sort of stuff, and going to church camps and all that sort of thing. So you guys have really been important in a lot of people's lives in that regard.
Thank you. Becky and I have pretty well, we dedicated our life to youth work for many years. We slowed down a little bit
As
now.
well after your kids are up and
Oh, yes.
out of school.
Yeah, we
and-
did FCA up until.
Yep, I remember I was One of my memories is listening to Elton John in your Tahoe on the way to Sky Ranch. I think
It's oddly specific.
Yeah, it is. It was really funny, but that was the memory. We were driving out to. I guess we were riding with you guys and a couple of buddies of ours.
Yeah.
But that was good times, for sure.
Yeah, we had some. We took a couple of groups to Estes Park, and that was really good trips.
Cool. Have you done anything that I may not be aware of, extracurricular, or anything you want to discuss with the church, or?
No, not specifically.
Yeah,
The FCA was a real highlight for Becky and I. In fact, that when you interview her, I'll let her tell that story. But she really kind of started FCA in Leonard under Coach Marshall.
Okay.
He gave her and Coach London that assignment. And
cool.
Well, I remember that like the fifth quarter stuff, going over to the fifth quarter.
Right. Yep.
That
was all as a result.
And we started before we did that. Becky and I, we used to rent a jukebox before we had children. When our children were little, at the Methodist Church and had fifth quarter and stuff.
Cool. Wow.
I know I saw Glenn Cummins on the square today.
Okay.
And I can remember when Glenn was in high school.
That's cool.
All way back.
You guys must have memories of hundreds, if not thousands, of kids that have come through here, and
we've had some great children.
Yeah, one of the things I said
students.
is if you don't know Eugene, you've most likely shaken his hand at some point. I mean, if you're around here, you're a well-known and respected guy for
Appreciate
sure.
that.
At least filled your Z-Pack there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah.
That
Thanks,
you probably
Robin.
got from Robin Kidd.
Thanks, Robin, if you're listening.
Yeah.
I guess you gentlemen are not old enough for Dr. Davis, are you?
I vaguely remember Dr. Davis.
I wasn't here. Yeah.
I love to have young men. I think of they're 40 and 50-year-old men now, but come in and they all want to tell Dr. Davis stories because everybody had horrors of Dr. Davis.
Gotcha. What was the rumor?
Oh, he was Whispering Jim, and everybody had kind of feared him. Great guy.
Did you remember Dr. McDonough?
Yes.
Did he study under Dr.?
No, Dr. McDonough was a DO.
Okay.
Doctor osteopath.
Gotcha. Yeah. Dr. McDonough cut out my ingrown toenails after every basketball season. That's my my remembrance of
Jerry
him.
Gill always had a great story. Y'all remember Jerry?
Yep.
Jerry was coming up here on the weekends, and David, who at that time was a young man, probably a boy, stuck a fish hook in Jerry's right outside his eye. It was on a Sunday afternoon. So do y'all remember Dr. Van Scoik?
Ooh, no.
I do not.
Okay. Anyway, Jerry comes to town, and Dr. Van Scoik's watching the Cowboys, and he knocks on the door, and he said, I got this hook. And he said, anyway, took him over to his clinic next door and got the hook out, and he got back in the car, and he told Marilyn, if we'd been in Dallas, I never would have got any doctor's care today. We're moving to Leonard, Texas.
Nice, very nice.
That's exactly
That's
right.
a good reason.
Yes.
Yeah, it's that personal, that small town feel.
Y'all probably know Joanne Grimes and Jeannie Van Scoik. That's their daughters of Dr. Van Scoik.
Okay.
My wife, this is her first taste of small town living coming from Round Rock, and then we lived in, Frisco and Denton and stuff. And she was just telling me the other day after we went to pick up a prescription at the pharmacy, and she came back and she said, I love living here because they said, well, we haven't seen you in a while, so we figured your kids were doing better, blah, 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 and she loves it. She's really taken to the small town living.
That's good.
Yeah.
I have one other Dr. Van story real quick. I only been in Leonard a couple of weeks, and Dr. Van came by the drugstore and walked in and introduced himself. And he said, what's your plans, young man? And I said, well, I'm here helping run this store and hope to get my feet on the ground. I'm trying to decide where I want to settle in. He said, when you get some of this black mud between your toes, you won't ever leave here.
That's about right. Yeah.
It'll make you want to leave sometimes, though.
My dad and his father were digging a flagpole when they built their house, and they were adding a flagpole. And I think my grandfather got out there and took about five shots at the dirt before he said, "This isn't going to happen."
Nah. I'm originally from Buffalo, Texas, which is kind of east central Texas, and it's sandy land. And when we moved up here, it took some adjustment. We realized if it even looked like it was going to rain, don't drive across a pasture.
So the pharmacy's been up here for 50 years. Are you the longest running business on the square? Do you know of any?
The Graphic, I think's got us.
Okay.
The Leonard Graphic was in the 1890s or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You're
I think we're number 2, maybe.
You have to
but
stick around for a while on that one, I think.
I don't know, it's going to be tough to beat.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, in that 50 years, I was asking a while ago how you've seen Leonard change.
Mm-hmm.
What about the pharmacy business?
Oh, it's unbelievable, the changes I've seen that.
Really?
We had a Smith Corona typewriter. That was
Sure.
all the only appliance I had, and we hand wrote our logs. And I don't know if y'all have heard of Joe Trusty. She was my right hand man at that time, and Joe and I went to Fort Worth maybe in the middle '70s, and they said a new program was coming called welfare, and they were teaching us how to make claims and stuff, and that was before computers.
Wow.
So yes, I started at the very beginning with a
Fundamental
off-site
change.
commuter, and I mean it was a
Complete transformation, really.
oh yeah. Yeah, salesmen used to come by once a week with a legal pad and take our orders. We got orders once a week.
Wow.
And where we're now, we
It's on demand.
oh yeah, we at night at 6 o'clock we submit an order, and it's here at Leonard at 8 o'clock the next morning. But back then it was like weekly deliveries, so
Goodness.
That's
lots
interesting.
of change.
Wow.
Well, that's my civilian job. I sell technology, so I see it how businesses are just fundamentally changing. It's really an interesting time because I would have thought that technology would have already brought businesses, but there's still a lot of businesses that run kind of in the old school way, and but that's not for long. They're coming.
You couldn't stay up in pharmacy now without that. So.
How many similar type pharmacies are there in that you would equate as a small town pharmacy
Well,
like yourself?
Farmersville has one,
Okay.
and in fact, Farmersville is about the third generation.
Okay.
Mr. Hickman over there, he actually has land around here in Leonard, but I think his granddad started that in the 30s.
Okay.
And his mother, who is 83 years old, is still working as a pharmacist in that pharmacy. And then, of course, White Rod has a small pharmacy, but it's a newer type pharmacy. It's not. When I came here, White Rod had just like Leonard's pharmacy, but they've gone through a few cycles.
They've kind of mirrored Leonard in a lot of ways, I think.
Yes, I think so.
Well, you've kind of probably had to change your operating model too a little, right? Like
Yes.
from the days of soda fountains and kind of general store to now much more, business oriented and medical equipment.
Yeah, that's when we got into the medical equipment, and it's a tough business now with mail order.
Sure.
Mail order makes it really tough because
Amazon.
Yeah, and Amazon's after pharmacy now, so
Sure.
even Walmart's nervous, I think. So
Well, I used a thing the other day called 98.6. I had a dermatology issue, and I couldn't get in to see my dermatology. I downloaded an app, FaceTimed a doctor, and they sent you a prescription.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting how everything's changing with that.
we have some tests in our store now that you can pick up for women for UTI infections, or maybe you got a strep throat.
Sure.
You can run the test, and then you FaceTime the doctor.
Wow. Wow. It's
Walk in,
interesting.
walk out.
Yep.
Very cool.
Got to find ways to new ways to do business to stay ahead. You
Yeah,
know?
'cause we got in the immunizations, and that's been a big part of our giving flu shots. and
Sure.
All the new shingles shot for shingles. That's been a plus for our business. Because the durable medical equipment it's got with Medicare, it's pretty challenging too, because the big boys have taken over that also. So
Bunch of layers.
yeah.
Yeah, the immunization. I used to resist the flu shot because it always kind of, I don't know if it was psychosomatic or whatever, but it kind of made me feel bad. And my wife, because she's infinitely smarter than me, said, well, do you want to kind of feel bad or do you want to get the flu? I was like, that's probably it's good. Good looking
nice.
out.
So have you noticed anything or remember anything on the square that you miss or something that you look back
I
and you're
miss
like,
the cafes. We've had Downtown Cafe.
okay.
And I hope the new one may be coming in.
We
Maybe
do have
that'll
one
be, we get another chance.
Yep.
I miss that because you used to could run over there for lunch. And
Yep.
I miss the good lunches, and I know I forget what they call this cafe on the
I think it's family.
south side. But anyway, they had a taco that was unbelievable.
Oh, I remember.
Remember the taco?
From when I was a kid, I remember the downtown cafe tacos.
What year is this?
This would probably be 80s. Yeah.
Okay, is this the Mexican colored building
Yes,
down here?
that building there.
Okay, they used to do, but it's been a
Yeah, it's
number
been
of places
Luna
since,
Azul and
since
several
then. I think
things.
it's held a
Yeah.
pretty Mexican theme.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then
that
of course
was
when
a
I
good
came to
cafe.
Leonard, we had Grill 69.
Okay.
That's where the present Quick Check is.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
And that was the cafe. It had
Yep.
they were known to have the best chicken fried steak in the area.
Was it
So-
part of the gas station itself? I remember in that
no,
building.
Mr. Stapp, who is Mark, he'll tell you when he comes, his grandfather owned that. And they leased it out. And I know several different people. I don't remember with Janie Pearson at one time owned it. Wiz Wizenhunt was she was the well-known cook. And
Lee's a good bit of run for its money on chicken fried now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm
Yeah.
a big fan of the Lee's chicken fried.
Downtown Cafe.
is that the new
Yeah,
one?
it was
No,
a
that's what I'm
downtown
asking.
cafe
It
was a staple.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
that
I
was
don't
the
remember
name
the
of it.
name of it. It was the place.
Okay. Any other kind of things that came and went, unexpected kind of? I'm sure there's the
Well,
turnover.
originally we had the donut shop down here. That was a hot item until they.
That was on the
Greg and
on the
Rosie.
west
West
side.
side,
That's right. I
Greg and
forgot
Rosie.
about that.
Yeah. That was good.
That's when we
Yeah.
first moved here. I think it was there.
I certainly miss Greg and Rosie now.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't know how good we had it.
Yeah,
We took
Yeah,
them for granted.
And then their sandwich shop was
Mhm.
special too.
Yeah, it
that's
was.
right.
And at one time, Lloyd Flanagan and Letha had a Whirlpool hardware there where Eddie's place is now.
Okay.
And then later Pete Flanagan had it. And then another good story, actually right next to me when I came to Leonard was Bobby, I guess the time Billy Gilbert owned it originally. It was a furniture store.
Okay.
And then his brother, not Bobby, but can't think of Amy's father. Anyway.
It'll come to you.
Yeah. Anyway, he ran it, and then later Galen ran it, and Galen ran it as when videos first came out, real hot.
Okay.
Galen had a video store there before he went to work for Texas New Mexico Power.
Okay. There's been all kinds of things come and go, and
Yeah.
now it's coming back. It seems like there's some people starting to inhabit some of these buildings up
Yes.
here. Go ahead.
Well, I think kind of the point too of this podcast and kind of what Matthew and I are doing, and Matthew bought this building, and we're now that we're the generation or kind of becoming the caretakers of Leonard, and it's at a kind of a transformational time too. We've seen what happened with Richardson and McKinney,
Yes.
and now Melissa, and we know it's coming. And Jason and I talked not too long ago, and we said pretty soon you're going to have to decide whether you like living in the country or you like living in Leonard, because it won't be synonymous anymore. Right. And so I think I'm excited by some of the growth. I mean, it's coming anyway.
Yeah.
So how best can we make it,
Yeah.
beneficial to Leonard?
I had a couple of gentlemen approach me the night we did the celebration on the square that they'd like to do something like that on a quarterly basis or something with
Absolutely.
a band. And
Yeah.
so thought that, and I said, it'd be a great idea, I think.
I've
Yeah.
thought about doing them. We're obviously into the Jeeps and stuff
Yeah.
like that, so I've thought about doing something like that.
Yeah.
And
just
getting
fostering
some people out here from
Yeah,
the
that-
surrounding areas,
Yes.
and
We have a beautiful square for that.
it's one of the prettiest squares around
Yeah.
here. That's not really that.
It's
built up yet.
underutilized.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's a good word for it. There's a ton of potential up here, and
Just doing that and fostering the sense of community, and putting some pride back into where you live. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
So.
KDJ has done a great job restoring buildings, and of course their Bear Creeks.
Yep.
Been a
Yep.
real addition to
They've
the
got a
square.
lot of buildings up on the
Yes.
northeast
We're
corner, I
real-
believe.
We're blessed to have David here. In fact, that'd be a good interview for you
we've
sometime,
already-
David.
his name's been tossed around.
He's a real story.
Yep. I've
And a
known
good
him,
storyteller.
Yep, I've known him for a long time,
Yeah.
him and his family, and my mom brought him up just today, and I know
Yeah.
I've got a long list of people that I'd like to get in here, so we will definitely have him in. He's on the radar
Yeah.
for sure.
Of course, Arvis Buchanan only beat me here by a couple of months, and so Arvis and I kind of, in fact, there used to be another gentleman named Danny Jackson at that time. It was the president of the bank, and Danny and Arvis and I like to, or Danny would say, we run this town, but but that probably wasn't true. But anyway,
To an
Arvis would be
to an
another
extent.
interview. He was,
Yeah.
he and his
He would
brother
be good.
Garvis were.
He's
of course,
still out here.
Yes,
Yeah, I think I
the
see
B&B.
I see their
At
Jeep
one
drive
time,
by
they
all the
were
time.
where the library is.
Yeah, they've got a great story too.
Before
think-
they bought the Piggly Wiggly.
Yep.
I think Garrett sees Arvis like on the weekly.
Yeah. I think they're pretty regular.
Yeah.
I think they're pretty tight.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, he'd be great. He'd be
Yeah,
great.
he would
Yes,
be.
that's the whole reason for this. These
Yes.
stories need to be told.
Yeah, they really do, because there are some stories I forgot. I know I told somebody the other day, you boys don't know, you probably do, Robert Albright, Yachty, and then Troy Berry, and we've had some real characters in
Yeah.
Leonard, Texas.
I remember Troy
Yeah.
Troy actually shot a dog there on the school grounds.
on the school grounds.
in front of the
he
elementary
did.
children.
He did.
They
With a-
called and told him they needed help with a dog. And so,
Oh man.
So Troy shows up with a 30-30 lever action and dispatches the dog in front of all the children.
The funny thing is that may still happen in
Yeah,
Leonard.
hey,
Yeah, Leonard.
I took care of it.
he took care of the trash dump, and
Okay.
people were known to go out there and find Troy kind of passed out in the And he ran for mayor every year, and then he had an old pickup. He drove around the square with "Vote for Troy."
Nice.
That pickup always had the blinker on, whether he was turning or not.
And he told the
I do
story that
remember
he
that.
was the last guy in the prison down here, our little Calaboose.
Calaboose.
Troy always said he was the last guy that actually spent
The
a night
last
in there.
prisoner.
Yeah.
On accident or on purpose?
I don't know. Well, they put him in there.
Okay. Yeah, because you can get yourself locked into there
Okay.
pretty easily. It's
Catch you in the dump one more time.
Yeah, it's a block over here. I've tried. I think they've got it locked up pretty well
And he
now.
claims he was arrested in Honey Grove one time and walked all the way back with chains on.
Oh
back
my,
home,
jeez!
so Troy had lots of stories.
I don't know how you get into that situation. Wow. I've got to ask. I saw a picture on Facebook of a Leonard Pharmacy promotional poster. Sans the mustache. So was there a point in your life where you made a decision to go with the iconic mustache?
You know, I think about that now. I don't even think my daughter.
It wasn't the picture, was it? You did not have a mustache. That's correct.
I came to Leonard without a mustache.
Okay.
Somewhere in there, I started the mustache. I used to grow a beard for ski trips every year. And one year I kept the mustache. So sometime in the 70s, I've had it ever since. So
Never shaved it off, or not even once?
It's been off maybe once or twice.
Once, just to.
I hope to grow a mustache one day when I grow up.
I give weak attempts at it. It's just not there yet.
You said skiing. I noticed part of my Facebook research was an Alaskan cruise, if I'm not mistaken.
We did that last year. Becky and I had a great trip. We hope to take more trips. We really enjoy traveling.
That's what I was going to get to. What's your retirement look like? If and when?
Well, now you got Mark. You can work him like a rented mule. And
What do you do in with your free time?
I enjoy golf.
Okay.
Probably golf and sports is about my free time. Becky and I enjoy traveling. We try to make some trip each year.
Okay.
This year was my son's 25th wedding anniversary, and we all took a cruise together. So
I think I saw stingrays.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you play over at Webb Hill?
Yes.
Yeah, I just joined over there,
Okay.
so very excited.
Yeah,
My golf game is not very good, but
well, my game's not very good either. I know Mark asked me why I play. You're not any good, but I like it. I enjoy it.
It's the routine. It's
Exactly.
the atmosphere. It's a lot of
I feel
things.
like one of these days I'm going to make it. So
Yeah, you will keep at it.
that's it.
That's what they all say, right?
yeah.
Well, I think we got a couple of questions to kind of wrap this up.
Congratulations to your 54th anniversary coming up. Is that
That
correct?
would be correct.
All right, on
54.
September 4th.
September 4th.
Matthew's an investigative journalist.
I know it. He does a good job.
I'm trying to do my research here.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of.
Did you know where we were married?
I didn't go that far. Sorry, I didn't want to come off
Too-
the wrong
too-
way.
too creepy.
Too
Too
strong or
strong.
anything. Yeah.
Silver.
Yeah,
Texas.
it's our first episode. So
Wearing those wingtip shoes on that day, weren't you?
I just got a quick hit from your
Okay.
Facebook. Trent High School 51 is when it said you started. I'm sure that's kindergarten.
That's probably true.
That's probably accurate.
We
you
actually didn't have kindergarten when I went to school, but
okay, so
First grade?
dive right into first grade.
right into first grade, all 12 years
Wow.
right there.
No
Okay.
easing into it with
Yeah.
naps
tougher
and such.
generation.
Yeah,
I guess, did you get the mascot of Trent?
I did not. And what was that?
It's the only one in Texas.
I'd love to hear this.
Sasquatch? I don't know.
Gorillas.
Ooh,
Wow.
the gorillas.
Only one in Texas.
Interesting.
Wow.
Tom Bean's also the only, I think the only one in the United States.
Is that
Tomcats.
There's some gorillas in Kansas.
Okay. Huh.
Wow, what a
None in
fun
Texas.
mascot.
It's all tigers around here.
If you go down Interstate 20, you'll see the new high school has a gorilla out front. So
Okay.
Oh.
Huh.
The Texoma area was not very creative.
They weren't.
I really hope that shows up on Jeopardy next
Tigers
week.
really caught on.
I really do.
Really caught on. We should petition to change Leonard's mascot from a tiger to a liger.
A liger, yeah. That'd
Just
be
change it up.
or
Just
maybe
shake it up.
Chimpanzee. You know?
I'd take either.
Yeah.
Leopard.
I've got you like the History Channel? You liked the page anyway.
Yeah.
Are you a history?
I enjoy history.
You a history buff? Like
Yeah,
any shows on there in particular?
Yeah. Well, no, sir.
No, there are no history
I don't
shows
watch
there
it.
anymore.
You may have just clicked like on Facebook.
Maybe I
and
did because I spend most of my time on Longhorn Network.
Okay.
All right.
Over 1,000 friends on the Facebook. Your last check-in was at the Methodist Church. The Alaskan cruise, we already went over the stingrays. I saw that. You shared a casserole recipe about 2 months ago.
Must have been Becky.
Anything behind that, or was that just maybe a mispress?
It must have been a share or something. So, the Methodist Church here has been very big. In fact, that was one of the first things Becky and I did. And we've been
How long have y'all been members there?
since 50 years.
Yeah, 50.
Wow.
Yeah, so just as long. That's impressive.
Yes, we joined shortly after we came here. So
I think
Good.
Ashley and I have been 6 months now, or 8 months.
Yeah, it's a good group of people. I've gone there for years and
Yeah.
during my childhood, and have fond memories of the whole organization and everybody involved. A lot of respectable people that have taught me a lot of lessons, and I hold dear.
Well, it's good to have you home.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, good to be home and good to be doing something like this with some friends and respected
Wish
elders.
y'all the
and,
best
yeah.
of luck. I hope this.
Thank you very much. We
thank
got
you.
one thing before you go.
Okay.
We've got a hat of 5 questions. They're kind of yes or no,
Okay.
very general questions. They're nothing crazy, but we're going to have you do 5 questions if that's okay with you.
I'm ready.
All right. I got the, it's not a hat, it's a box. If somebody wants to donate
y'all
a container for us to pull these from, that'd be great.
We'll
I'm
sponsor
using,
you.
Or y'all gonna read them?
I'll read it because the penmanship's probably
My
poor.
glasses are not on. So.
All right, first one's pretty straightforward. Have you ever broken a bone?
Yes, broke my arm twice. I broke one as a junior high school football player. So
Okay.
What position did you play?
I was at that time I was a quarterback, and that's another story, real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Broke my arm, and I was also an FFA, so I wasn't eligible for about 6 weeks, so I went to the National FFA convention in Kansas City and saw some sights that a young man from Trent had never seen,
Wow.
and came back and finished the season. And
Wow.
I played Leonard football. I might have been the worst player to ever come through Leonard. I was pretty good at riding the bench. I was decent at basketball, but football wasn't my thing. Okay, Coca-Cola or Pepsi?
Yes or no's?
Cherry Coke from the Leonard Pharmacy. If I have
the only Coke I drink is out of our fountain.
Really?
There you
Yes,
go. I like that answer.
It's good.
That's good.
I have one of those every day too, and I work.
Very
Really?
nice.
Whether you need it or not,
That's
huh?
a ritual.
Yeah, cool. That's a good one to stick to. Can you read that, Jason? Like, can you actually
Let me
read
find
it?
one
Because
that I can read.
My writing is poor.
What is your first memory of Leonard, Texas?
Came here at night, and it was pouring down rain, and I guess I was impressed by the square. I guess the square. We talked about the square, and I guess that's my first impression.
Yeah. Okay.
Outside of being a pharmacist, what's the best and worst job you've ever had?
Okay, I had a lot of jobs in high school and college, and I worked in a brick factory one summer. I only lasted there about 30 days.
Okay.
I was hunting a job. That's the worst I ever had.
Yeah.
Best, that's a good question.
You said something about the first memory. My first memory was actually having Dairy Queen on the gazebo outside of your building. We came into town for whatever reason. My parents bought Dairy Queen and we ate it there. So
Okay.
it was like the most
what small
cliche.
town folk do.
It was like the most cliche small town thing you've ever seen. And it was the dead of summer too.
I spent a summer working. I guess maybe a good job. It's kind of strange, but I spent a summer in Tyler working at Tyler Pipe and Foundry, and made a lot of friends there that summer, and
That's good.
worked the evening shift, and
Yeah.
took my government at Tyler Junior College.
Cool. Got
What we up to?
one
One
more,
more.
2 more.
One more.
One more.
What was the last gift you gave someone?
Last gift.
Probably a cruise.
I'd be at a cruise in the spring. I was trying to think what I gave Becky a evening out, so for her birthday this past weekend in McKinney.
Okay.
So I don't know if y'all stayed in the Grand Hotel.
Yep. Actually have.
And they get Rick. So
Yep.
Yeah. I love the elk's the only thing to eat at Rick's though.
Yeah.
I love it.
I don't eat the elk.
The,
I've seen Mark eat it.
So
Porterhouse for 2 is to die for. I would highly suggest that.
the Wagyu skewers are pretty good too.
Sure.
Yeah. Actually, everything's
Can't
pretty
go
good
wrong.
at
It's all
Rick's.
good.
Yeah.
I'm hungry. Let's go right now.
That's right. We're giving a shout out to Rick's. Maybe
Yeah.
he'll sponsor the next segment. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I think that's about it.
Okay.
Eugene, thank you very much for
Yeah,
doing this.
we appreciate
we
you.
really appreciate you being the first guest on the show.
That's
And
a real honor.
have to have you back and say hello to your family for us.
Okay. Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
Thank you guys.
Thanks.